Hello, welcome to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw. Most people know of Trevor Noah as a comedian, host of The Daily Show. But do they know him as the boy whose mother once threw him out of a moving car? Or as the biracial South African who figured out how to get people to treat him not as white, not as black, but as himself, Trevor? Well, that's just some of what you will learn if you read his book, Born a Crime: Stories from a South African Childhood. And that book was chosen for Salem Reads 2023. Why was it chosen? Well, here to talk with us about that, Salem Reads, Trevor Noah's book, is Sonja Somerville, Salem Public Library's Teen Center Senior Librarian. Hello, thank you so much for joining us, Sonja. Tell us, the book is so amazing. I took a look inside the front page and I've been reading it ever since. And I get something new out of it all the time. Tell us, what is Salem Reads?
Well, Salem Reads is an annual program that is funded and organized by our Salem Public Library Foundation in cooperation, of course, with Salem Public Library. And essentially what we're doing is inviting our community to come together, read a book in common, and then have discussions and explore the themes around that book.
How did it get started?
This is year seven. And it was something that was brought forward really a few different times over the years. This is a thing that many libraries do in their communities. And it wasn't until the Salem Public Library Foundation was able to step in and offer some robust funding and some structure and support that we were able to see a way to have the capacity to do it. And now it's become a wonderful part of our annual lineup.
How are books gathered and a final selection made?
So that's a process that actually has already begun for 2024. It's pretty far ahead, lengthy process. We have a separate selection committee. I'm not on that. I'm on the programming side of it. And that group is made up of Foundation board members, some library staff, and a variety of community members. And they simply bring forward books that they think would be of interest, would be worth reading, would have the kind of thematic breadth that we're looking for, and start having a discussion about the merits of those books. And then we narrow and narrow and narrow till that group identifies 2 to 3 top contenders. And the final decision is actually back to our community. This is a community event. So we take those final few out to our community for a vote.
How many people read the annual book choice, roughly?
When you put it all together, you have to figure that probably 1,500, 2,000 people read the book.
And I noticed one of the books that you can check out is the same book, but it's in Spanish.
Yes. So this year's book did come in a Spanish translation. And also this is the first time that we've had a book that has a young reader's edition. So it's under a different title. It's called It's Trevor Noah. And it is it's just a little bit shortened, a little bit simplified version of the story aimed at kind of that middle grade reader.
Let's talk about the book.
Let's do.
What is it about? Born a Crime. Start with that. Born a Crime.
Born a Crime. So this is the story of Trevor Noah growing up in South Africa, born during apartheid, when his very existence was a crime because his mother was Black and his father was white. And having that interracial interaction was literally considered a crime, and could have resulted in jail time for his parents. And so that is the frame of his life. But he had a very powerful relationship with his mother and a very powerful experience as this young man born in apartheid, watching apartheid actually come apart and his society change. So we end up seeing that larger context of that historical and societal change through his eyes and his experience.
And his mother, you mentioned, they had a powerful relationship. As you read the book, you can't help but come to the conclusion she's not only a powerful influence, she is a force of nature herself.
It's amazing. And his grandmother also, very powerful person and influence in his life. And I love how he tells the stories with a little bit of a sharp edge at times. They're definitely, families can be challenging as well as wonderful. But he tells those stories with such respect and overwhelming love for the women in his life. It's very powerful.
And in that, it tells of the larger story of what it was to be in South Africa as a Black, as a white, and even those who were biracial. And speaking of biracial, I was surprised when in the book I learned that he didn't think of himself as other than just himself, and yet his own community thought of him as white.
Yes.
Because he was so light-skinned.
Yes, and I've seen him speak about, in his comedy acts, about having never really been identified as Black until he arrived in the United States. And again, there's a really different social dynamic there as in terms of what people focus on and where they try to slot people.
It was dangerous. It was very dangerous for his mother and him in ways almost worth their lives every minute they were in South Africa during apartheid.
That example that you bring up of chucking him out of the car is one of those moments, though, where you understand, like, they're in real danger, and throwing him out of a car actually was her way of protecting him. It's such an interesting contrast, because it sounds like something you would only do if you were punishing your child and being terrible to them. But in fact, she's doing it for his protection because of the larger circumstance. This whole book is a study. Their relationship is such a study in contrasts and interesting tension. So it's a good example.
Did that topic get developed with your readers and people who you talk to? And do you have events around that whole idea of what apartheid was like?
Yes, we are. That was one of the significant themes that we definitely prioritized exploring. His book obviously is a really powerful and personal introduction to apartheid, but we felt it was important to offer people some larger context. So we do have a professor coming to do a talk about South African history and kind of take us through that larger historical piece.
But not that long ago, and certainly not in Trevor Noah's experience as a part of it, shaped who he is.
And definitely there are echoes and mirrors of that systemic racism and how it continues to impact society, not only in South Africa, but in societies around the world, including the United States. And so it's worth seeing that connection and examining it together.
What other areas are you exploring with people? Tell us more.
Let's do. So one of the goals that we have as we plan Salem Reads is that we want to have a variety of registers, a variety of experiences that we offer. So we have the maybe the most obvious of programs. We do have several opportunities for people to get together and delve into the book and discuss their reactions and experience with it. We also want there to be opportunities to learn, and such as the South African history program. And we look for opportunities to get together and have fun. So Trevor Noah is a comedian, and we're actually kicking off this experience with a comedy open mic night.
Oh.
And auditorium, inviting people in town who might be thinking that they are themselves a little bit funny. I'm sure they're right. To come and have 5 minutes on the stage and see if they can get the audience on their side and get them laughing. So we've never hosted such a thing before. So we have teamed up. We do a lot of community partnerships. We've teamed up with the Infinity Room, where they are experts at hosting open mic nights. And they're going to come over and provide us with the host and also they're bringing two experienced comedians who will be performing at the beginning and at the end of the show to kind of bookend that with some professional comedy. So it's sure to be a really wonderful night. And we are welcoming comedians as young as middle school.
Really?
It is going to be a family-friendly show. Everyone's going to play clean, and we're going to have, if we've got some courageous 6th, 7th, and 8th graders and high schoolers, they are welcome on the stage as well.
Well, that's interesting that you're offering this. It reminds me that Trevor Noah, for all his tragedy, for all his difficulties in life and challenges, constant, his humor saved the day in many, many circumstances, or he was able to turn his experiences into something that people could relate to. And they can relate to a lot of things, in fact, soften the message sometimes with comedy.
Absolutely. Well, humor and pain are often two sides of a coin and two sides of a person's experience. You take those difficult things that happen to you and kind of process them through that lens of humor. It can make it easier for other people to accept and take in and connect with. And I think it's also a catharsis for that person. It's a way to talk about something that is so difficult to be serious about. And yet if you can get that humorous twist, sometimes you can get those really hard things said. And I see that with his humor and his comedy all the time.
Humor is woven into some of the worst situations that you can't imagine someone experiencing, and somehow he manages to pull it out, to show it in different light. Like, yes, it's tragic, but it's also absurd. You can't help but laugh to avoid crying.
Exactly. It's a coping mechanism, isn't it? When we can delve in and find the absurdity in the sad things in life, it's a way for us to sort of find that path to go on. Otherwise, I think sometimes we would be stopped by the depths of human tragedy.
And you put it all together, and before you know it, you're really thinking about, oh my gosh, I didn't know that about South Africa. I didn't know how they studied different ways that they handled the majority people who were not white, and to get them fighting with each other. That's what Trevor said. Just, buy the book, get them fighting with each other, and how people overcame that. And it's hard to process for some people that this was a plan to subjugate people in South Africa, and it worked, and then it didn't.
Deliberately done, and using people's fear against them is a tool that's been used by many dictatorships and regimes around the world, and it was used very effectively in South Africa for a tremendous amount of time.
So there you are with the teens and the teen center, and you're running things there. What kind of effect do you think this book is having on the young readers? What's your take?
Well, certainly it has the angle of introducing them to a piece of history that they did not live through. The fall of apartheid came before anybody who's hanging around the teen center right now. So definitely a strong introduction. But I think it also has a good deal of value in Trevor Noah is a popular figure in pop culture right now. He's a recognizable person. And it really encourages us to consider like the depth of people's backstories, about how much might go into who they are and how they think, and the influence of people like his mother, his grandmother, other people around you, how they change, and how the experiences that you have sometimes. He describes a lot of experiences that are very challenging and seem to put him in a position where success would be very far away from him. But yet he has moved forward and had this tremendous success. I think there's a good deal of inspiration in it too, that when you are resilient and when you keep trying and when you try to see that there are opportunities to step out of the current tragedies, the current challenges that you might be facing, but we always want to be encouraged to think that there may be something better beyond that if we persist and keep striving. So That for me is what I hope our kids get out of reading this book.
How can people learn more about Salem Reads right now? Where do they go?
So we have information on the Salem Public Library Foundation website. We have information on the Salem Public Library website and on our events calendar. Also, here at our library, there's a special shelf where we've got the books available for checkout when they're here. That shelf has been full and empty many times, but those books are coming in and out. There's usually a few available. And on that shelf, we also have a printed document that sort of lists out everything that's going on for the month. It's kind of nice to have it tidy in one little flyer. So you can pick up a flyer there and go through it and think about which of these events you want to be a part of.
Yes, tell us again about the open mic one. If somebody wants to be involved with that, what do they do?
Well, the signups for that are being organized over the final week or so by the Infinity Room. People can sign up in advance to say that they'd like to do it. We'll also, as much as possible, have an opportunity for someone to gather their courage and sign up right at the door. And so they're doing the organizing for us on that. We also have other opportunities. We've got we have a writing contest of our own called The People Who Shaped Me, where we really want people to write, as Trevor Noah has done, write about a person or persons in their lives that have in some way had a real impact on who they've become. It may be a figure as sort of large and present as a mother. Some of us have chance encounters, short-term interactions with someone who's had a powerful influence. It really can be anything from that range. We're looking for essays, literary fiction, sort of memoir, nonfiction, whatever format people want to put that in to tell us a story about someone in their lives who's had a powerful influence. That's something we're excited about. And we also have a writing workshop for people who are developing their skills as a writer. There's one for adults and one for teens, both taught by Emily Prado, who is a local author. And she's going to focus on how to draw out childhood memoir, how to look for those stories in your childhood that can tell a powerful story, as Trevor Noah did.
Sonja, have you seen Salem Reads fulfill its mission? One book, one community.
I have. We have had such tremendous moments over the years where I have sat in rooms, particularly when we have that opportunity for discussion, which we are offering this time. We have book discussions. We have a discussion evening led by a professor from Willamette University called Working on Our Whiteness. We have a discussion from a gentleman named Donovan Scribes from Portland, who's going to talk to teens about music as a tool for social justice. And those are all opportunities, not just to learn something that someone else knows, but to bring your own knowledge into the room and share that. And I have seen such powerful connections develop during these kinds of events where people kind of take that risk and open themselves up and say things that are true, maybe not always, like sometimes we have trouble finding the exact best words to say those things, but really sharing things that are true and important to them and watching that connection spark and watching our community kind of take that one step closer together and understand each other better. I have seen it every year that we've done that, and I really look forward to the kinds of conversations we're going to be involved in this year.
Oh, Sonja, this has been so informative. We've been listening to Sonja Somerville, who was the Teen Center Senior Librarian at the Salem Public Library, and her thoughts on Salem Reads and the book choice they made this year, Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. It's been fascinating. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me, Wendy. It's been great to talk to you today.
And thank you for joining us on InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw.